So, welcome back to the 1760 sessions where we talk to founders building systems and impact. I'm Harry from 1760, and today I'm joined by Keith Larson, CEO and owner of Zen Massage Franchising, a professional massage and skincare brand operating across 5 states with a model that goes against everything the rest of the industry does. No contracts, no membership fees, no hassles. Keith has spent over a decade at McDonald's Corporation, first in marketing, then as a regional director of franchise operations. Went on to become senior VP of Moroccan Associates, one of McDonald's largest ad agencies. He spent 16 years as a radio personality of one of Charlotte's biggest stations and has now rebuilt Zen Massage into the franchise system he always believed it could be.
It's all
Thank you
right.
so much for being here.
It's great to be here. I appreciate the opportunity, and I love your rundown. It's great.
Amazing. It was like an award list, a lot of accolades.
Yeah, I don't know if we've rebuilt. We're not. You're never there, but we've certainly come a long way, and we continue to move forward.
Yeah, well, from our last conversation, it sounds like you're on the right tracks anyway. I'm
Appreciate.
looking for when Zen Massage gets to London, and I can help with the franchise over here.
Hey, you'll pass along my email. Just have somebody reach out.
Yeah, of course, it could be me. Uh,
Go.
Amazing. Kicking off with, what led you into McDonald's in the first place, and what did those years teach you about how great a franchise system is actually built?
Wow, that's a great question. It goes deep for me because
Yeah.
we lived in the Chicago area. My dad started with McDonald's in 1966. The company was barely 10 years old. They just had a few hundred restaurants. When my dad started with McDonald's, and he was, an accountant, every person in their home office still had to go to the Elk Grove restaurant to Hamburger University to learn the whole operation. And so that was a hoot. My dad, the accountant, and we're going to the restaurant, seeing him, behind the counter. But I was around it forever. And my dad was mainly handled what they called real estate accounting or franchisee sales accounting. So I was around the mentality of franchisees and a franchise system from the very beginning, in addition to just, brushing in the elevator up against Ray Kroc and Fred Turner and
Uh,
people like that when I was a kid. And then I worked in the mailroom there at McDonald's when I was in high school. And there's a play, How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, and it's a story of a guy in a mailroom. I can tell you, you learn everything about a company if you work in the mailroom. You're exposed to everything. I went from there though into radio for a chunk of time. That was my own personal interest, and when I kind of veered back to marketing with McDonald's, it was just as a person who always had an interest in consumer propositions, marketing, advertising. What are consumers into? What do they want? What do they want to do? That was just sort of me. And then I was at this great place, McDonald's in marketing, and there was an opportunity to shift into the franchised operation, which a lot of companies did, some years ago. So I just moved into the operations path, managed one and then eight McDonald's restaurants, and then I became director of franchised operations in Chicago. I was responsible for 400 restaurants at that time, maybe 100 franchisees is what it was. So it's always been a part of me since I was very young.
where were all the restaurants when you had your biggest ownership? Were they across the US or just within one state?
Well, the ones that I managed, everything I did was in the Chicago market. I was
Okay.
the marketing guy for Chicago, first for the Chicago market. I'd been in Ohio and those states and the mountain states. You get sent around as you keep climbing up the ladder. But then I handled marketing in Chicago, the headquarters market. Um, and so you brush up against a lot of people when you're the regional guy in the headquarters market. That gets very interesting. Um, and so I started in the restaurants right there, suburban first, and then the eight that I ran as an ops manager for a period were closer to the city. And then when I was director of franchised operations, most of what I had my arms around were in the city, restaurants in the city. And in my years there, we were doing a lot of market redevelopment, market shifting, relocations. Chicago had become a mature McDonald's market, and there was a lot of need for that. And actually, a lot of that experience has fed some of what I've needed to do and chosen to do over the years for Zen Massage to kind of restructure a little bit of this system.
Okay. And I think you described to me two completely different sort of separate career lives that intertwined in key places. So walk me through how a McDonald's franchise operations director ends up owning a massage brand in Charlotte.
Well, and the real half of my life is, marketing operations guy. And I was interested in radio. I was a radio kid, so in
Yeah.
college, right into the radio station as a news guy and then a talk person. I was in that for several years. I did mornings in Phoenix, rock and roll kind of thing. And then I was fully into McDonald. And then I felt like a piece of me still, needed to be back on the air. So I went, and as you mentioned, for 14 and a half years at WBT and a couple of other years after that at another station, I was back on the air. I opened an ad agency while I was on the air because you have the opportunity to do that. You're representing a lot of clients on the air. You're doing commercials. You're working with agencies. So I opened an ad consultancy. And one day, the owner of this little massage franchise gave me a call and said, "Hey, I hear you on the radio talking about and kidding around about being a marketing genius, but I can tell you know what you're talking about." Because I did. I mean, I would, spoof
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
poke in the eye. But he said, I can hear through that. I know you know what you're talking about. And that was the owner at that time of Zen Massage. And so he retained me and my ad agency to start doing research for them, rebrand their company. And from there, over a period of years, I just kept getting more and more and more and more involved with Zen Massage. Became an owner of one of the franchises at one, was my first entree, became a minority shareholder. And this past year, I just completed 100% ownership takeover of the company.
Amazing. So what was it first about Zen Massage in, I think it was 2007? Was it the sort of no contract model that attracted you? Was it that positioning? And I think you said you even jogged past a sign at one point.
Well, yeah,
Was it the sign
yeah.
itself?
The, the the radio station in Charlotte was located near Bank of America Stadium, where the Panthers play, kind of the uptown Charlotte area. And I would get off at noon, and I would jog through this. People know uptown, south of uptown Charlotte, kind of a residential business district. Kind of a funky area. And I would jog there. And one day I go jogging by, and this sign is just right there near the sidewalk, and it was, massage, Zen Massage, no contract, no membership fee, everyday low price. And I literally stopped right there, read the sign, thinking, man, that's not what this industry uh, seems to be about. No contracts, no membership fee.
Yeah.
Everybody else is contracts and membership fee. So it just got my attention. I've always had an eye, uh, as I said, for consumer propositions. I'll tell you a different time about when we were with McDonald's. Me and two of my buddies went out to Denver. We were looking for restaurant concepts, and we had gotten wind of a guy who had 7 fresh Mexican restaurants, a new thing. So we go out there to look at it. We tour it around. This is fantastic. This is terrific. We come away from the weekend, and we meet with the owner. He takes us to all his locations. We love it. We start brainstorming. How can we take, what kind of an offer can we make to this guy? Can we scrape up 10 million? Can we scrape up 15 million? And, about 2 days later, it seems, our company, McDonald's, wrote the owner a $50 million check to acquire the company. And it was Chipotle, is what it was that we were looking at. And Steve Ells, the owner, great guy. We had no clue that he had other big things in the
Huge
works.
visions. Yeah.
But we could see the consumer proposition in that. And when I'm jogging by, Zen Massage, it's just, wow, this is what consumers are going to
Yeah.
want. They don't want contract. Consumers hate contracts, membership fees, red tape, cell phones, cable companies, all that contractual stuff has gone by the wayside as people have had other alternatives. And so it just really grabbed my attention.
Yeah, I picture it sometimes like some of the gym relationships I've had with the gym in the past. I've been in periods of my life where, I'm forking out for a very expensive membership, and I don't want to be paying that because I wasn't going as much. So very interesting. And I, from the sounds of it, it was kind of like a gut feel running past the Zen massage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and congratulations on the 100% ownership. It's a long runway to full commitment. What kind of made you finally go all the way?
It was just an incremental progression. As I said, first, the agency kept getting more involved.
Yeah,
And then I started getting more involved as the agency guy. Then I got more involved with their operations, even as the agency guy, because of the
yeah.
McDonald's operational experience I had and experience working with franchisees. Minority owner, here's an opportunity to acquire a terrific center, do that, and then just keep growing and growing and growing.
Nice. And I love the Chipotle story you intertwined a minute ago as well. I'm a I'm a big
I know I said I
advocate.
would tell I said I would tell you later, but then I told it, I guess. So I squeezed it in. But it was a
Yeah,
great day. It was funny as heck. I'll tell you what, if you could have seen the three of us, I was with one of the other two guys literally the morning the announcement came that McDonald's had written that check to buy into this company, and we were just like jaws hitting the floor that they had done that.
huge. They're
Yeah.
everywhere in London now. It's crazy, and I'm a sucker for it. Um, so look, let's jump into the sort of the revolution against contracts, so to speak.
God, I love
So
you saying that.
yeah. So
That's what
80% of your new clients, I believe, came from Massage MV, Hand and Stone, or similar brands as soon as you opened in their area. That's kind of an extraordinary number, if I'm honest. What does it tell you about where that market is heading?
well, would you mind, this is a conversation. Would you mind if I read you one paragraph on that topic?
100%,
Th-
go
th-
for it.
this is from a little minor business publication called the Harvard Business Review.
Yeah, just minor.
And, yeah. And here's what it says. Why do companies bind customers with contracts, bleed them with fees, and baffle them with fine print? Because, they say, bewildered customers who often make bad purchasing decisions can be highly profitable. Most firms that profit from customers' confusion are on a slippery slope. Over time, their customer-centric strategies for delivering value evolve into company-centric strategies for extracting it. Not surprisingly, when a rival comes along with a friendlier alternative, customers defect.
Yeah,
That's the entire story, Harry, and that's why it's
right there.
80% plus for us. The Zen massages, the other chains, they've done in massage in the last 20 years what McDonald's and maybe Burger King did 5 decades ago in fast food. They made it consumer retail, predictable. They brought that experience to tons of people at reasonable prices. So these firms, I don't knock them, they made the market where massage is now not just something at a resort or something. So they made the market, but the way they treat their clients with these profit-centric approaches might sound good to a prospective franchisee, but in reality, you have to keep roping people into those contracts, right? And that's expensive. But so they've made the market, and in the experience of the markets we're in, and I know we're not large at this point, we're just eight centers at this moment, but whenever we open in a market, whoosh, because
Yeah,
those people are there. The massage envy clients are there. As soon as we become visible, they give us a try.
amazing. Like, I can think of many times in the past where I've got roped into a contract by mistake, and then it's almost brand tarnishing in a way because you're a bit like I might utilize their services, but not as much as I should do, and then your relationship with the brand subconsciously isn't a good one. So the big chains kind of built this category and they made professional massage mainstream and accessible. But you're now making the case that the very model they used to do it has become their biggest liability. How do you kind of frame that tension?
Well, first off, that's really a common occurrence in business dynamics, in business evolution. First to market with something that consumers want to take to gets to dictate from a very corporate standpoint exactly what things are going to be. And I'll go to McDonald's for, I don't know, 40 years. McDonald's had your sandwich made its way waiting for you. And that's how it came.
Yeah.
And so the Burger King approach was have it your way. Henry Ford, every car was a black Model A. Every car was a black Model A until Chevrolet came along. And now there are alternatives, and so things have to change. So there's one piece of it that's just very naturally evolutionary about consumers. Same thing in the cell phones. You remember, I mean, there might still be a few out there today, but cell phone contracts are meaningless today. Either people don't require them anymore, or you can get out of them in a heartbeat. Every company will buy you out of the old. So what's important to understand, and even when you talk about the revolution, this isn't Keith's wacky consumer preference thought. This is a natural evolution of consumers in any industry as they adopt to it and as they have other choices.
Since launching Zen Massage, it's obviously reframed or reinforced the thinking that you already had. Have you considered this in any other industry and thought, hang on, there's an opportunity here? Or are you just too, yeah, do you know what I mean? Or are you just too consumer focused at the moment, as in too focused on Zen Massage?
That's what it is. I mean, I do. My mind, it sees things, thinks things, sure. But no, this is focus. This is all I'm interested in and
Yeah.
exactly what we're doing.
So in the UK, we just book to pay for a massage. The idea of a monthly contract for a massage might not even, it's generally quite alien to me. How did that model ever get dominant in the US is what I wanted to know. I was having a think about this, and why has it taken this long for a credible alternative to emerge?
Well, a couple of reasons. Because it was the only, it was kind of the first and only real consumer retail on any kind of mass scale that was open to consumer. I mean, if you weren't at the resort at Caesar's Palace, or some other such place, you probably weren't getting a massage. So its initial entry into the industry took that shape, and the companies, the franchisors, were able to say, all right, we want this like this, we want this like this. It was constructed as a way, here's the phrase, here's the buzz phrase, recurring revenue, guaranteed recurring revenue model. Okay, well, there's some truth in that, in the sense that if you get people in a membership, if you get them in a contract and you get them on a recurring thing, all right, so there's recurring revenue, so prospective franchisees kind of like that idea. But the problem is, um, people, especially over time, and as alternatives become available, they don't like the contracts. Number one, they don't like, if you were familiar with contract and membership firms, you'd find that you often have a hard time booking your massage, because they're also operating their business to stay tight because they got your money, and so they're taking appointments in a way that works for them. And plus, Harry, the totality of the experience is so different. You just book a massage, right? So where do you go? You go where you've had a great experience. You go where there was some sort of relative value proposition to you.
Yeah.
You choose, those consumer benefits. That's what we do every day. People get a great massage. They choose us. They don't have to come back to us. So we're putting out a terrific experience every single day. People have more flexibility in booking with us. They're not being upsold. They're not being arm twisted. I'll tell you what, in this, a key piece, clients hate the fact that every time they go to that center, they're being pushed up to something else.
Yeah.
They're having their arm twisted to re-up a contract. And the staff hates that, and therapists hate that. It's not just 80% of consumers that come to us from the other places. About 90% of our therapists have left those other
And
places
yeah,
because that's not the way they want to work.
kind of, it's from what I'm hearing, it's like you pay for what you get. Do you know what I mean? If you want to have that longer stone massage versus like a Swedish massage, for example, that's just me plucking examples. But you're paying for what you get, and if sounds like there's a bit of transparency between the relationship of the consumer and the brand.
Well, there is, and it's not that we don't have hot stone. We have hot stone. It's not that we don't present, other possibilities informationally. But that's just all clear and out there, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to be pushed up to anything or anything like that. My apologies on that. Um, so what it does is it puts the entire operation on the quality of the client's experience, and over time, that's what wins.
Yeah,
Over time, the fact that somebody's roped into, geez, I'm paying that. Look at my credit card statement. I haven't been there in 3 months. I guess I better go. No, we want people having a close your eyes and count to Zen experience. That's why that's one of our key copyrighted phrases. No contracts, no membership fees, just That's what
just,
people want. That's what they
yeah.
connect with. That's what creates brand preference and insistence. And we see that play out every day, all day long.
So when you first took full ownership, what did the system actually look like, and how honest can you be about what needed fixing?
Well, it was pretty simple. It's just math in a way. When you're still at the smaller stage of numbers of centers, you have some great centers, but you're going to have some. You may have some, and it was the case here, that were lower performing. And the reality is, if you're going to grow a franchise system, you want and need clear, replicatable results. But there had been in the 20-year ago iterations of the company and earlier, some sites, some locations that honestly they weren't the best. They weren't in proper places. They weren't properly sized. There were a few built that were just too small,
Yeah.
to work properly. So when I began to take ownership, there were 11 centers. That was also during COVID. And so, we knew that we were going to have to do some reshaping over time. And I guess, and now we're talking some business economics, but I'm going to give you I'll give you a snapshot. Be candid with you, but think about that. When we went from, at one point, actually 14 centers to 9, and I took it from 11 to 9. But that 14 to 9, Harry, if you do the math, that means you're cutting back 36% of your location.
Yeah.
Our company revenue was only cut by 9%. Okay.
That
So
says a
get a
lot about the
mental,
solutions.
I'm sorry, but it did, and it does. And again, back to my McDonald's Chicago experience, you know what? Even the big companies with the deep pockets run into that situation.
Yeah.
You have markets that shift, markets that move, some locations that were not built properly. And the only thing that makes sense is to address that. I'm very candid about this. It was cool to have some of that growth faster in that area, I suppose, for the company. But you need to build your system for franchisee strength and system strength long term, overall. And that's what we've undertaken to do. And those were some of the structural and internal things that we just had to clean up. And we're certainly not the first company to do that, but it was getting in the way of the great results at most centers and of the terrific response from consumers to our proposition. We're in our own way because of some of those earlier center.
Amazing. And look, it's some hard decisions, but I can imagine everyone is on board once you put the hard numbers against them. I think you described to me previously as your Cornelius Center as the kind of center you build today. What does the right Zen massage center look and feel like, and what does the wrong one look like in comparison?
Well, I hope people will make their way to our website. We have a great little tour of this center there. Have some other things on it. Maybe 2,800 square feet, 8, 10, 12 treatment rooms. Of these centers that closed, at least 2 of them only had 5 usable treatment rooms. Just way too small. And we are We are a value approach. Okay, so we don't have marble walls in our centers. We don't put fireplaces in our centers. We're not trying to mimic a resort. Our centers are very nice, very comfortable. We have a lobby. We have a separate Zen room people can go chill out in. So very comfortably sized and very nice, but smartly built. And
Yeah.
and that's part of how we're able to keep our fees lower and our costs lower and our pricing.
Sounds like almost like a community in a sort of way. It's like it sounds like somewhere I want to go hang out for the day, if I'm honest.
In this center, for example, I don't know, I should go look at the wall. Maybe we have 13 different therapists working with us right now. They work all different schedules, maybe 14. Most of
Wow.
them have been with us years. Um, all the front desk and operations people. I'm speaking in my center, but this is largely true in all the centers. Um, I don't think I've hired a new front desk person in 3 years,
Nice.
which, for a front desk part-time position, that's a pretty long time. So when you say community, it does tend to feel that way. And everybody's working together to please the client, get that client to want to rebook with our therapist, with that therapist. Our therapists are paid, some extra bonuses when people choose them specifically. So it creates, to your point about community, it creates a whole atmosphere of satisfaction and people being thrilled to be here.
Okay. I need to book in. Um, so your business is hands-on by design, literally massage and skincare. Some brands are moving aggressively into automated phone calling, automated scheduling, automated everything. You aren't. And can I ask why?
Well, we're certainly not, and certainly not now. And it's just not my vision. It's not what our experience is intended to be. And some of the other competitors are moving into some of those things in their ways to try to, eke out more profitability. But um, this is a hand touch personal business. Now, we use AI, we use tools, we use that, we use a lot of things in our operation internally, back of the house, resources for the business, resources for me as a franchisor. So it's not like we're trying to, say, hey, we're Stone Age, we don't want technology, but we want a person to speak with our client, and they get to know each other. Our front desk people know our clients
Yeah.
when they walk in. So to us, that's very much a part of the massage or skincare escape experience that people are coming for. It's very personal, clearly, and so we want to keep that. So no automated receptionists for us right now.
No. You need to have that relationship. It's very, very important. And humans like
Yeah.
speaking to humans at the end of the day. So, where are you using technology and tools today to support marketing, owner operations, and the franchise system itself?
Marketing, owner operations, and the franchise system itself. I mean, we do sales reporting, analysis. We're always updating marketing materials, operational materials, and so forth. We're making use of it in those ways, and we're always looking at others. But the main thing is that the touch with the client is what's going to stay personal.
Yeah, of course. And it's them coming back again, which makes the experience better for both the client and the brand.
It
So,
it
I think we
does.
touched on it.
I'll tell you what, if a person, right there, sorry, Harry, but you know what?
No worries.
Some people watching this are gonna be thinking about owning this business, owning that business, that's part of the audience for your podcast.
Yeah.
I can tell you this, and I'm not knocking McDonald's. I love McDonald's. It made me a lot of what I am. Uh, I could have opened a McDonald's franchise. I couldn't be in that experience day in and day out as an owner, as an
Yeah.
operator. Tons of equipment, massive food inventory, thousands of transactions a day. People, and let's face it, when you go to fast food, half the time you're standing in line. Anybody there seeming happy? Are the people behind the counter seeming really happy most of the You come to our centers, every client is here because they're thrilled to be here. They're having a great experience. Our therapists are here working the schedules they want, doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
They're happy to be here. If you're going to own a business, if you're going to work, if you're going to be in any arena, massage and skincare, everybody's happy, man. This is a great place to spend the day.
And I will be soon. So I have a few more questions for you to close out. And we spoke about, CBD, any skincare extensions that are clearly on your radar. How do you think about product innovation in a franchise model? So how do you test things without creating chaos for your existing franchises?
Well, that's a process very much that's a part of me from the McDonald's experience.
Yeah.
I own this center and I own the franchise brand. We do a lot of things here, whether it's been product, we shifted a few years ago, Harry, to a fully organic skincare product line, it's sheer organic. We have a line called Zen Sheer Organic. We started that here first. We introduced that here. And as the franchisor, or as me, we absorb the costs and the learning of that kind of thing. So that's what you do. And so we use this center for that purpose. We don't just throw things out at our other guys, marketing operations, whatever. So that's the approach. We've done it in skincare. We are looking at CBD. A lot of people and convenience stores, all of a sudden CBD's everywhere. Well, there's some other implications within massage. There's some things that we want to make sure we're where we really want to be with it, but we will be there with CBD. We've expanded again on skincare, but into LED light therapy within
Nice.
skincare.
Is it
Again, I launched that
red light
red,
therapy?
green, blue. There's
Yeah.
several infrared for several different skin treatments. So we start that here,
Yeah.
first, and then move it out to the system.
Interesting you said infrared because I'm a member of the sauna just down the road from where I live, and they have an infrared sauna in there, and I'm like, it's one of those ones where I'm not educated enough to know what it's doing for me. So I'll sit in there and I'll be like, well, this isn't hot enough. This isn't how's this helping me? But
Right.
let's go jump in the sauna that's hotter. Very interesting, and that's probably a conversation for another time. I'd like to see where you're going. So that kind of leads into my final question, and that's what does Zen Massage look like in 5 years? Is it how many locations, which markets, and what does the system feel like at scale?
Well, we will have grown. We will be in additional markets. We have done a lot of the work and reworking we needed to do to get to a point where we are today, which is very much a relaunch for us. Um, and so it's my company now, and we've done and are doing some things differently. We're currently running our first ever, paid advertising campaign with a great company looking for new franchisees in targeted markets. So it's the first time we've been able to be confident in investing in that approach. So we will have grown, but Harry, are there 50 more centers in 5 years? Are there 20? We grew, even as a small company, they grew like 5 centers in 3 years at one point, and those are some not great location. There were some problems with that. So I'm not into the game of, well, we're going to grow and become this because we're going to
Yeah,
grow.
yeah,
And what I can tell you is we're going to open terrific centers in the best locations possible, and have great people as owners and franchisee partners in our system.
yeah. One thing I'm taking away from today's conversation, and I love to hear it because it's something I believe in as well, is it's all about the people. And by the people being happy means the business can grow and you want to grow at the right speed and make the right investments. And Keith, this has been fantastic. Really, really enjoyed today's conversation. Very excited to come across the pond and experience Zen massage for the first time. And thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate it. If you get to Charlotte area, Las Vegas, Kansas City, any of the markets we're in, hey, 90 minutes deep with hot stone added on me.
Okay, amazing. And I'll hold you to that.
All right.
Okay. Cheers, Keith. Thank you.
Thanks, Harry.